Hello, good morning, and excited to be here on Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock a.m. It takes a while for this to connect and go through. Oh, well, it's part of what goes on with the good old internet here. Wait for everybody to be coming on. And, we're going to be doing these every Monday, not Monday, Wednesday at 9 a.m. Central. So invite people to this group. And my chair is like a little too high. There, like make that look good. So invite people to the group. The recordings are going to be up for a couple days after the training has been live, so that you can watch again or take notes or whatever. And then the training will be removed from the group and it's archived in another location, which as that location gets finished, I will share that. But for now, really important to get that live, because there's a lot of reasons. One is, for me personally, it holds me accountable to get my training that I want from wherever source that I want. When I'm doing stuff for my business, I show up live because that's what I need to do so that I don't get backlogged in my training. The second thing it does is I swear, like when you have something on your schedule, it gets done and then other things get done. So it's just one of those things. We want to stay current on everything, what's going on. I want to help give you information of what's going on with Facebook or anything like that. And let's get into today's topic, which talks about, who is your prospect? I mean, that's really a big deal on Facebook or on anything, is that we've got an issue in this network marketing industry that everybody within, they call it like the 6-foot rule or the 3-foot rule. I've heard both. 6-foot rules like under the ground, right? But, if you can kind of reach out and touch somebody, they're your prospect. And any warm body is your prospect. And that does not work for the internet, 100% for sure. And it's part of the problem with, so many uplines and companies and gurus are like, do 40 reach outs a day and do, this on your Facebook profile and post, every couple hours and da, 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 da. And the problem is you don't know who your ideal prospect is. So you're just putting stuff out there and people don't really want your stuff. I hate to say that, but they don't even know they want your stuff. And that to them, they see it as spam. And, I hear people and I talk to them about their business, and Jen, I do 4 hours of reach outs every day and I'm not getting anywhere in my business. And my first question is, are they actually good prospects? Do they want what you got? I mean, that's a real, if somebody's soliciting you for something that you don't want, then it's going to be a fruitless effort, on their behalf. So, it's just kind of like somebody standing on the corner and they're like, hey, I got gold chains in my jacket. Do you want gold chains? And you're like, no, I don't want gold chains. Well, if that person talked to 200 people that day, they're going to say nobody in the world wants gold chains. Well, did you actually put yourself in front of people that wanted gold chains? You know what I mean? So that's one of the really, really, really big issues just in general in the industry, is getting in front of people that are interested in what you want. My tea kettle's going in the background in case you hear that. So I might need to pour my water, but big issue. When I was building offline, I was not ever one of those prospectors that would try to get everybody and their brother, sister, cousin, and everybody into my business. I am an introvert, and when I'm in my private life, I don't want to be turned on all the time, like up, being the happy network marketer. It drains me. So like I was either prospecting or I wasn't. And what I did back 20 years ago is I did trade shows and vendor events of people who were more likely to be interested in what I was looking for. I did vendor events that were like mind, body, spirit because I had a health product. I did women's expos because, women were more likely to be somebody that used my product. And I also did a lot of pet events for pets because that's one of my favorite markets. But I didn't go out there and stand on the corner. Even then in the booth, people would walk by and I'd hope that somebody would walk by and be interested. And it wasn't super targeted, but it was more targeted than just, standing on the street or trying to prospect people in the grocery store. Now, if you're really good at that and you can strike up a conversation and bring people to the point of finding out if they're interested in your business or product in a conversation, then that is good. But that also takes like more skill. If you're talking to somebody and you just assume they're going to be interested, hey, I got this stuff. I know you're going to love it. It helps you lose weight, get more energy, sleep better. And, let me give you some samples. And they're like, what? Like, that is an art, is, having that conversation and open somebody up to receive what you're going to say. Now, like I said, that previous was my, my strategy for building offline. Well, the internet is like, I'm going to pour my tea water, by the way, so that, that's my back on my chair. I didn't eat bush beans yesterday and have a flatulence issue. And this one pair of jeans that I have has these little copper like studs on the back. And every time I move, whoa, I get that effect. It's just great, isn't it? So what happens with the internet is even amplified compared to what we see offline when it comes to targeting. Like I said, everybody and their brother thinks that they need to get on the internet and start spamming all their friends and family and go into Facebook groups and start PMing people when these people might not even be interested in the product or the business. And then they wonder why it's not working. Well, I can tell you why. It is because people have not shown that they're interested and you're just spamming them. And one thing that I like to do is I like to get really clear on who my prospect really is. And then that will bring me to a place of where I can find them. I love running ads because I can tell Facebook, okay, this is my prospect. Please go find him or her. But even if you have a multi-fold type of plan, you're running ads and you're also running a Facebook group or you're prospecting in one of those, and you do want to reach out to your friends and family, you need a plan and you need to understand a few things. And I'm going to get into that as well here. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to open this up. Okay, let's get into this. Now my face is going to get little. Okay, so I asked myself some questions about who he or she is. Who is my ideal prospect? And we got to sit and think about and ask ourselves questions like, who do I want in my team? I mean, that's a big thing. A lot of people get into the rut of thinking that they are their prospects are doing them a favor by joining their team. And a lot of prospects, if led to believe that, will act like that. They will hem and they'll haw and they'll not join and they'll come in when they get paid and they'll string you along forever. But really, it's important for us to sit back and step back and say, who do I want in my team? And get real about who we are and get like that mirror. Pretend this is the mirror. This is my phone. But we get real by looking in the mirror and we say, okay, what am I good at? What do I think that I need in my team that could complement me? So I need to also look at my team objectively and see if there's different types of people that I need to round out my team with, you know? And so what I mean by that, some of you may have heard of like the personality colors or the gems or something like that. You know, there's a lot of people that teach this. And, you know, the main 4 personality types, I'll just do the colors because it's easier than other things. So you've got your red, which is like the driver, right? You know, they're the everybody wants to sponsor reds, but they're very, you know, driven. They're very goal orientated. They are the action takers, you know, and usually the achievers. But that's not to say that the other colors don't achieve. Okay, I'm not going to say that. The reds are the ones who are usually, you know, very much like this about getting to their goal, right? And then opposite of red, as far as the personality colors, is the yellow. The yellow is the helper. They are the ones that are for a cause. They are also the type of person that people really trust. You know, there's a high trust factor in those people. They are, you know, usually into like natural foods, or they donate their time and they volunteer. You know, like the reds are often like managers or business owners, or, you know, they're go-get type of people. Like I said, one's not better than the other. I want to be really clear about that. Outside of the yellow, then who else do we have? Well, we have the greens. The greens are the, you know, the information type. They also like steps and systems. In the background, he's singing to his people. I don't know who his people are. I think the alien spaceship came and dropped him off this morning. The greens are also the analytics. And these people may take a lot of information, you know, in order to enroll. They want to know what systems you have. They want to know what steps exactly they need to take. These types of people are often your engineers, your accountants, scientists. You know, they're the analytical type of people. And again, you know, the personality overall is that they're going to be a little more reserved in appearance. And then you've got your blue, which is the opposite. Usually reds and yellows get together in relationships, and greens and blues do. The blue is the fun people. They're the extroverts. They like to travel. They like to meet new people. You know, the thing is with these, you know, these are the people you want to organize your party, right? You want to have the yellows and the greens organize your party. When the green organizes your party, they're like, your party usually consists of like chess or something like that. My personality is primarily red and green, and that is a pro and a con sometimes. But, you know, when I look at my team, and I will tell you this, when you are growing your team, if you're not aware of what personalities you're attracting, you will often only attract the people that are opposite of you. So a strong red that is left unchecked is going to attract a lot of yellows. if that red is not going to be consciously seeking out certain types of people. And so the reds will get really frustrated because they are attracting all these helper types, and the helper types are often not go get them drivers. They can, up the ante and roll and do that, but they are in general not the pushing type like the red. So the reds will often say, my team is doing nothing and I've got a bunch of lazy people in my team. So, it's important to look at yourself objectively and say, who am I? I'm a red. And if I step back and I look at my team, and if I have only yellows and I'm mad about it, that's my own problem, because my team is not a bunch of lazy, no good, whatever. It's because I need to intentionally go out and look at my team and attract some, round out my team and attract some blues and some greens and maybe other reds. But this takes some personal growth and development as well. Like if you're a strong red and you want to enroll a strong red, you need to tone your red down a little bit. You need to know exactly how to talk to them. And that's going to be, that's like not for today, but I just want to go over this in general for us to get clear on this. Also, if we look at the team and we notice that we have, we do events and the events are kind of flat, and I'm looking at my team objectively and I'm like, okay, maybe I need to get some more, blues involved in this team so that we can have more fun and, bring that aspect into the team. Really objectively, you've got to look at yourself. And, if you're a yellow and you're a helper type, it might be hard for you to talk to a strong red. And so that you'll have to be intentionally doing and aware of. But the hardest part, I think, sometimes is to look at yourself and know where you are, and then look at your team and where do you need to round it out. The more personal growth you have and you understanding yourself and you know how to speak to each of these personality types, the more your team is going to be well-rounded. If that makes sense. So you want to step back and you want to say, who do I want to sponsor? And then you think about, what are these people interested in? That isn't like, who are your people? Is it everybody? Is it just all, types of personalities who are, wanting to save the whales? Like that. Actually, I went pretty specific on that, but you need to step back and say, look at your products or even your business. And I'll talk about the business in a second. For the products, what product, even within your product line, would they be interested in? One of the biggest mistakes that people make is that they try to market all of their products, even in ads. They try to market their whole line. And when I work with people, I say, we need to dial it in and look at what products do you get really excited about and what problems do those products solve? And that's how we can speak to the prospect. If you've got a line of 50 products, you're not going to try to pimp all 50 products on Facebook or wherever, right? Wherever you're doing your marketing. So you pick, and it's actually, you're not leading forward with this problem or this pen. Say this is a product. You're not leading saying, buy my pen, it's awesome pen, it's white and black and it's got a little opener here and it's got where you can put your name and your business and they're like 10 for $1 and blah blah blah, we can get them to you in 2 weeks. That's not how you sell a pen. The pen, the feature is people who are looking for pens. So you might market this in a way that is talking about when you're, are you looking for a way to build branding within your company and get other people, aware of who you are so that when they think about carpet cleaners, they think of you, and in order to purchase a pen that people are actually going to use, you want a pen that's going to be comfortable in the hand. You want a pen that's got a good space to put your name on there so that the brand is going to be easily seen and recognized. You're going to want the type of pen that somebody's going to loan out because they are using it themselves, So like, again, we're solving a problem, not just pimping the features, right? We're talking about the benefits, but the benefits, people always say sell benefits, not features. Well, I'm going to kind of disagree with that to a reason, or not a reason, to a point, because we need to sell a solution. It doesn't matter. Maybe the features solve the problem, or maybe the benefits solve the problem, but we need to solve, we need to market a solution, not the product. So weight loss 101 galactic super 1000 is not what people are looking for. They're looking to drop the 10 pounds that they may have gained over a period of stress or the holidays or the big 4th of July celebrations or whatever, right? And no matter what they do, they can't seem to get it off. That's the problem, and they've tried everything and then they can't lose the weight. So that makes sense. Now, if you're talking about the business, what is everybody your prospect to do the business? Well, we could say yes. But truthfully, the answer is no. It's my morning tea. You want to look at who do you want to sponsor? Again, going kind of back to, okay, I need some more fun people on my team. I need some people that are maybe drivers, looking at yourself objectively, what complements you, but also what's the prospect interested in? Are your prospects, stay-at-home moms? Are your prospects people who used to own a business and they closed the business maybe in the last year or so for economic reasons, and now they're looking still to be independent, not go back into a job? Now we're really needing, we're starting to dial that in and understand who we're marketing to. For the business, are we looking for people that are maybe a little younger, that want to get a side hustle going so that they're not working 3 jobs, but they're working this on their own time because they're thinking about, leaving corporate and pursuing a life of traveling the world? You know what I mean? Like, so we have to get, into the reason they'd want a business. Yeah. And so then how do we find these people? Now that we kind of know this, well, the ads manager, that was the training I did last week. The ads manager, you can target a lot of this stuff. Now, I'm not saying you can find people that, are very specifically in the business, but I would maybe target, the last example I gave, target people who are interested in travel. And I could choose the age group, 25 to 40, 25 to 35, 30 to 35. You know what I'm saying? So you can, when you identify who your prospect is, you can actually bring that into the ads manager. Same with the products. So if I'm, promoting a product that may help moms who have autistic children, I can write an ad in a way that would speak to those moms. And then I could target autism in the ads manager, which at this time you still can. Facebook's always changing the targeting on this stuff. So we would sit down and get clear, do I have products that maybe help people that have pets? Separation anxiety, the dog gets crazy when you leave the house. So maybe I've got some magic potion that helps with that. And I would market to pet owners, maybe people in particular that are into border collies or herding dogs because they're really high energy. So, I hope this makes sense. That would be marketing to a solution, taking my product and marketing to a solution. And then when you show the ad to people, they're more likely to buy versus, it's similar to like when I would go to a pet expo and I'd have my table of products there. And some people, they're all interested in pets because they're at the pet expo, but they're walking by and they kind of look and they're like, oh yeah, I'm interested, or no, I'm not. And that's kind of how it is with the ads. You're not just taking the ad and showing it to a bazillion people. And unfortunately, that's what most people do. They want to make their audience in Facebook as big as they can, when you're just going to waste your money showing your ad to people that probably aren't interested. And in writing ads, you target your ad according to the actual targeting in the ads manager. You can tell Facebook, I want women who are 30 to 45 who own golden retrievers to see this ad. But you can also, your targeting is within your ad itself, the words. So you can, and also the image. And so that's why it's important to sit down and think about, okay, what product would I want to market to? What product or what problem does this product solve? And who are the people that would be interested in? That's really what you want to be clear on when you're marketing your product. And when we decide that, and we take the time and we understand the market and what they're really wanting, our marketing efforts are going to bear more fruit. Also, when we run the business opportunity, when we do ads that way, we need to obviously be, conscious of what words we say and things like that, because we don't want to trigger anything within the ads manager that's going to cause, rejected ads or ad account problems. But if you lead with a problem, and a solution to a problem, that is more likely not to cause any problems in the ads manager. But if you're like in your ad, make money now, ask me how, learn how you can get residual income and quit your stinking job and fire your boss and travel the world so that you can live your dreams and have freedom and build up your retirement, I'll guarantee you that ad's going to get rejected and you might even get in trouble more than that. So that's what everybody is doing. And that's why there's problems. And I'm going to get into that in another training. That one of the upcoming trainings is going to be about this. It's the biggest issue that network marketers have in the ads manager is writing copy that doesn't get flagged. Facebook doesn't want outward, MLMs to be running ads, just like, where it's really forward in the ads and stuff. Because face it, I don't know about you, but I'd hate to go on my Facebook and be like, it's like a big pimp fest in here. I wouldn't want that. It would be very off-putting. So I'm glad they have the policy, but you can definitely build your business using ads. Now, if you were going to bring in an organic, an organic strategy into your online marketing, it's the same thing, so maybe you've got some ads running. And also if you're running like Facebook groups or you're doing things like that, it's excellent idea to run ads even to build those groups. So you can, take a strategy that may bear more fruit than just friending and strangers and PMing people you don't know, or even people you know. Because if you understand, okay, this product helps people who have golden retrievers so that when I leave the house, the dog doesn't get separation anxiety. Okay. Where would I possibly find those prospects? On Facebook? Maybe some pet groups. Maybe there's Thunderstorm Anonymous for pet groups. I don't know if there is or not, but you would go into interests that your problem, that you're solving with your product is going to be. Okay. But also I'm going to ward against this a little bit is that, if you're in those groups and you're naturally carrying on a conversation with somebody and then saying, hey, let's take this into Messenger just because your private stuff is being aired here on the Facebook group. And then you can take it over to Messenger. But if you see people in the group that are talking about their dog in a thunderstorm and you start spamming and PMing those people, you'd better have a really good strategy on that, and understand, that you might create more off-putting responses than receptive. It depends on how you write it. It depends on how you approach it. But this is definitely a way that you could use. But it's also, if you're looking at building, I look at a 2 to 3 pronged effort to find prospects. I always have ads going because that's consistent 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I have that campaign running, bringing me prospects day in, day out. And then I usually bring in 1 or 2 other strategies. So am I going to be, doing in-home gatherings and presentations? Am I going to look at vendor events? Am I going to possibly get good at out and about prospecting, as we call it? Maybe I'm going to join some very interest-specific Facebook groups and build a following that way. Maybe I'm going to build a Facebook group. That's another thing. What would they want? What would the solution be? And then you would follow through with your product. Remember, you are really the product. The product itself or the business opportunity is the tool that you use to achieve the goal of whatever you're seeking to, accomplish, and that you help people with that tool, which is the company or the product. So if you want to start a Facebook group on a specific problem, or, maybe buddy up with somebody that has a group that you are involved with in moderating or adding content to, just make sure you have an agreement that, hey, I'm going to backdoor these people with, if I see that my product can help them, that I will reach out to them. Is that okay? Just make sure you're clear on that if you're helping somebody moderate a group. It's important. You can also host events, even online. Very, very powerful strategy where you can offer training on that specific solution that you're offering. And you could run ads to those events and maybe even get some organic traffic to those events. That's why it's really important to understand who your prospect is. This goes back to the initial question is understanding, who are the right people that I want to sponsor and where am I going to find them? I mean, that's really the biggest question. And it's not everybody. Okay. I know we'd like to think of everybody can use my product. I sell chemical-free lotions and I sell chemical-free home cleaning products. Everybody's my customer. No, they're not. Sorry, they're not. You want to seek out people that would be looking for that for some reason. Maybe they're already buying the product and you're looking to get a transfer buy, but you still need to get that person thinking that it's a better idea to transfer buy to you than go to Target and buy your product. Again, you need to understand what is the solutions that they may be looking for that you can fulfill with your product. Does it make sense? That's a transfer buying situation. Same with the business. When we're looking to share the business, why would people be looking? I mean, there's a whole lot of reasons why, especially these days, right? I mean, there's just crazy stuff going on, but there's a lot of problems that people are having in their life that's making them think, I would like to maybe have a side hustle or maybe a full hustle. I don't even like the word hustle itself, but in general, like I'd like to do something part-time or full-time or get out of my job. Or maybe I lost my retirement when my family member got sick and I had to use all of our retirement for that. it's just that situation. When I first started in network marketing, I was in my 20s. And my problem, my pain point was I could not imagine getting to 65 doing the corporate thing. Like the thought of that, I couldn't even, like I was in my 20s and I'm like 20s to 30s, 30s to 40s, 40s to 50s, 40 years of this. I can't do 40 years of this. That's literally what I was thinking. And that's why I was a great prospect, because I was already thinking of a way out in my 20s. So, we've got to find those types of people, that way. And people often ask me, Jen, is it better to lead with the product or is it better to lead with the business? And you know what? Whichever one you're really excited about is what you lead with. You lead with that thing. If you're really good at leading with the product and you want to, get more business builders, of course you can create campaigns for that. But also if you can get good at prospecting your product users for the business, it's very intentional, when you do that. And same with the business builders. If you're leading with a campaign that's leading with the business, and they're like, well, I don't know, Jen, I want to think about it. Well, the best way to think about it is to try the product. Tell me what's going on in your life. Let's get you some products and see if you can get behind them. How are you sleeping? Do you have energy in the afternoon? Are you stressed out? You're yelling at your kids all the time, stuff like that. You're leading with the problems. So when I was doing trade shows and had my vendor booth and people would walk up to the table, I would say to them, hey, have you ever heard of the company? And they'd say yes or no. And I'd say, okay, well, let me give you a quick tour of the table. Over here, we have products for you to try, samples. Over here, I've got some free literature, help yourself. And over here, we've got some educational resources. We help everybody from, and I would name a problem, we help everybody that, may have dogs that have hot spots, all the way to separation anxiety and everything in between. So take a look and then let me know what questions you have. And again, even then, I didn't realize I was leading with the problems. I was not that great of a marketer back then. Well, I must have been because I did well, but I wasn't conscious of it. I'll tell you that. But people would always say, when I would say, I give them the tour of the table, and then I would say, we help dogs with separation anxiety all the way to hotspots and everything in between. I'd step back and they would say, well, do you help this? And it always opened up the door for me to learn what they may need help with. Again, that is a great skill to gain, is when you're talking to people, learn how to pull out of them what issues they're having and be a very good listener. You want to listen more than you're talking, because when you listen to them, your prospect's going to tell you what their problems are and their struggles, and then you can back in with the solution. So it's like, open your mouth, ask a question, wait for them to fully respond, and then when you get to the point of where you're talking to them, even through Messenger, I'm not talking face to face, you ask them hey, can I ask you a couple of questions to see if I can help you? And then you step back and you say, you're telling me that you've tried steroid creams from the vet, you've tried a natural diet for the dog, you've tried this and that. I'm not a vet. I can't pretend to be a vet. But all I know is when I put Super Galactic Cream 2000 on my dog, when my dog got itchy, then my dog wasn't itchy anymore. I don't know if that's something you're open to trying or not, but if it is, what if your dog could not be itchy anymore? Does that make sense? I hope it does. We're not fire hosing and leading with what we think the prospect wants. How many times have you had somebody come to you and they say, you need this? My sister sometimes does that. We have horses. And when we go to the tack shop, she comes up to me, you need this. I do. I probably do if it's a tack shop. I need everything. But in general, that's like, how many pairs of shoes can you have? Thousands. How many bridles can you have? Thousands. But in that, all jokes aside, in reality, when somebody says you need this, you automatically start to close up and your defenses go up. What do you mean I need this? People say, well, you should do this with me. You would be great at this. And you're like, no, what am I getting into? Like you start to go like that. But if someone says to you, hey, I thought of you because the last time we talked, you were working 60-hour weeks at your job. And you told me you wished you could do something so that you could stay home, at least be home for dinner every night with the kids and your husband. Are you still keeping your options open on that, or are you good? I hope that makes sense. And that could be done through Messenger, or it could be done live or through a text or whatever. So again, leading with the reason they'd want to to do a business. Okay. So some of the biggest takeaways that I want you to learn today is no, everybody is not your prospect. I know the people that have been touting the 3-foot rule are going to have a spaz over that, but they're not. Maybe you may think they are, and truly your products and your business may help them. But really, when we're projecting our product and our business onto people and they're not ready for it, or they're not knowing they have a problem, or they don't want a solution, it's going to be tough. But if we can find people that are looking for a solution and we understand their problem and we can offer it to them, we're going to have much more success. Okay. And we can do that through listening, and we can do that through looking at the posts they're putting up or whatever. We could do it through a Facebook group. We can run ads that are talking about a specific problem and that people can respond to that ad wanting information to help solve their problem. Okay. So very important things to understand. And this is probably one of the biggest reasons why people get in trouble and they struggle, because they're marketing to people that are not interested. And then also, to recap on who do I want in my team, think about that too, from your perspective. What types of people do you want to help as far as the problems? I'm a horse person, so I know a lot about horses, so I could easily market to the equestrian community. And I can think of what problems are they struggling with that my problems solve. Okay. Also, I need to look at my team and decipher, who am I? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And then seek out people that complement me. And that goes kind of like back to the color personalities. I know this is a generalization, and often people are a combination of more than one. But if I'm looking at my team and they're all yellows and I'm a strong red-green, I probably need to tone down my red-green and attract some other reds and know how to talk to them, and maybe some blues so we can have some fun at our events and have some really great conversations and lovely people that we meet. Then our team is going to be more well-rounded. And at a really high level, you can write copy in ads, the words in your ads, to speak to each of these personality types. And therefore, your ad could reach those people based off of the copy that you wrote, because that copy will speak to them and elicit a response. But again, you need to know how to write those words and look at yourself and know you. You need to be honest with yourself. Who am I, and what problems do I have that I'm attracting certain types of people? I need to change my message. Why did I get those types of people? And that I've done it myself. I thought my team was XYZ, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I attracted them. What did I do to attract them? And now when I write ads to speak specifically to different groups of people with intention. Okay, if that makes sense. So I hope this was helpful for you. Not everybody is our prospect. How do we find the right targeting? How do we find the right audiences? How do we get the right people to respond? It's when we sit down and we take some time, we understand who we are, who we need to attract in the team to balance the team out, but also who's looking for our product, solution that it offers, and also who is maybe looking for a business that I can help them with and that I'm passionate about helping them with. Okay, so I hope this is helpful for you. In our next coming training, we're going to be going into, oh my goodness, I don't remember what it is. I scheduled out like a whole bunch of months and I don't even remember them all. Oh, yes. Next week's training is going to be on the 5 top reasons why people get their ads rejected and their accounts shut down, especially for network marketing. Network marketers, we are so good at getting our ads rejected and our ads shut down because we say words that we don't know we are saying that's triggering a problem with the bots. And I'm going to get into that. You're definitely going to want to get to that training. You're going to want to hear that. If you're not listening to this live and you're listening to the recording, make sure you get on that training. And it's going to be very, very good. It's going to be very, very good. Because people, it's when I talk to people who've run ads before and they're stuck, they're like, I don't know why my account is shut down. And they feel like it's shut down forever, and it's not. We can get it back. It's no problem. But yes. And so, share this training with people that are interested in learning how to find more prospects, finding people for their team, and they may be struggling with a lot of no's, a lot of objections, because it could be because they're marketing the wrong people. They're talking to the wrong people about something, it's like you wouldn't sell a hammer to somebody who wants to cook, a beef roast. You know what I mean? It's the wrong tool. You'd want to sell them a roasting pan, right? For the roast. So that's the big thing. People are often marketing to people that aren't looking for a solution. And that's the first thing. And the second thing is getting good enough in your probing, in your questions, in your scripting in order to elicit them to tell you what their problem is so you can offer a solution. So I hope this was helpful. We will catch you guys next time. Again, we are on, we're going to have this in the group for a couple days. You can listen to it and add people to the group, tag them in this. If you want, give me your biggest takeaway on what was the most beneficial for you on this training. Make sure that we are on the right track. Also, if there's certain topics that you would like to hear about, please put that in the comments. We do read them, and we want to make sure that we're giving you what you want as well. Because I know from knowing my market what you guys are struggling with, but there might be things that I don't know. And I hear as people are in different companies and the times are changing, and there's a lot of change in the market right now. Very good changes for us, but drop it in the comments. I'll make sure I get that. Or I might have it in my order of things to do, and I'll bump it up sooner than I planned on doing it. So I hope that you're having a wonderful day and that this was of benefit, and we will catch you on the other side. If you'd like to learn more about ads as well, put that in the comments. We can make sure that we get you information. We've got some very special training. We've got some free training for you on how to write ads, what's working with ads right now, and go ahead and drop that in there. We'll get that to you too. So have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody.